Hello students, in our last lecture we had talked about Adam Smith's theory of absolute cost advantage. In his theory he had said that in order to have a trade between the countries, each of the countries should have an edge over the other at least for one commodity. However, David Ricardo went one step ahead. He said that it is agreed to have the absolute cost advantage, but a comparative cost advantage is also sufficient enough for the countries to trade in between each others. Let us have a look at the assumptions. First, there are two countries and two commodities. Like in Adam Smith's theory, we had assumed that there are two countries which are trading amongst each other two specific commodities. Here we are going to assume that there are two countries, England and Portugal, who are producing wine and cloth. Second, there is perfect competition in both in factor as well as final product market. Ricardo had assumed that there is a perfect competition in factor market as well as in the finished products or goods and services. Third, labor theory of value. David Ricardo assumed that the product has got the value only and only by the labor. The labor was assumed to be the measurement rod for comparing two commodities across the countries. Labor is homogeneous within the country, that is, labor is homogeneous in terms of efficiency as well as in terms of productivity of the goods. This is required in order to have the labor theory of value, that is, measuring the product or services in terms of labor hours taken in order to produce that good. Next assumption, labor is homogeneous. Ricardo assumed that labor is homogeneous in terms of its productivity and efficiency across the country. This is required in order to measure the goods or the productivity in terms of number of hours taken in order to produce a particular good or a service. Next assumption, labor is mobile within the country and perfectly immobile across the countries. It is required to assume that because we have measured the value of the good or the cost of the good in terms of the number of hours taken by labor. That is why we have assumed over here that labor is perfectly mobile within the country and immobile across the countries. There is free trade. There is free trade across the countries and there are no tariff or non-tariff barriers by any of the countries. Next, production is subject to constant returns to scale. There is no technological change happening over. All these assumptions are required in order to have a static production across the countries. Trade takes place among the countries on a barter system. That is, over here when we are assuming that England and Portugal are trading with each others, they will be trading wine and cloth respectively on a barter system. There is full employment in the country. This is required in order to have the production of each of the country on a production possibility frontier. Last assumption, there is no transport cost, because when we include transport cost, we will find that the comparative cost advantage which a country is enjoying may wither away. That is the reason we have assumed that there is no transport cost. Let us now get on to the theory with the help of this table. In this table, we will see that there are two countries, England and Portugal, who are producing wine and cloth respectively. Now, if you observe the figures, you will find that Portugal is enjoying absolute advantage in terms of production of both the products. That is, wine as well as cloth, both are produced by Portugal at the lesser amount of labor input. Both the products are produced by Portugal at respectively 80 and 90 units of labor. Now, let us take a position of England. If we look at the position of England, we will find that England is producing the wine and cloth at respectively 120 and 100 units of labor. Now here, rather than Portugal only producing and exporting both the products, this is not possible because each of the country needs to enjoy the comparative cost advantage for at least one of the products. So, let us take the difference between 80 and 90. We will find that Portugal can produce wine at the lesser unit of labor, and let us take the difference between 100 and 120, that is England will specialize in the production of cloth. This is how a comparative cost advantage can be enjoyed by both the countries. Now, Portugal will keep on producing and exporting wine to England, whereas England will keep on producing cloth at 100 units of labor and it will export it to Portugal. This can be explained further with the help of the ratios which are shown in the table further. These ratios are clearly indicating that the specialization can take place even in spite of the fact that Portugal is enjoying low cost advantage in both the products. Still, you will find that there is an advantage for England to produce the cloth and export it to Portugal. Let us explain this phenomenon with the help of diagram. In this particular diagram, we can see that x and y axis is the commodity or the product, that is wine and cloth respectively. In the diagram, we can see that PL and EG are production possibility curves for Portugal and England respectively. ET, which is a dotted line which is parallel to PL, indicates that Portugal can have greater comparative advantage in production of wine as it can produce ET of wine which is greater than OG which England can produce. England will specialize in cloth where its comparative disadvantage is less than what it is in the production of wine. Thank you students for listening to this video. More videos are available and it will be uploaded soon.